All right, y'all. I hope everything is all good on these audio levels, but welcome to the Chopping It Up show. I'm your host, Joe Beard. Happy to be of service for you today. Today is July 7th. What's this, 2024? It's 3:08 on the West Coast and 6:08 on the East Coast. We appreciate all y'all listening live or watching live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I think we're on Twitch, wherever we got or wherever we broadcasting live. And we've been off for 2 years, so we're happy to have this time to bring back the show and to get things rolling along. Got some good things coming up on the calendar this year, so we'll be keeping everybody abreast of what's going on. But today we came back with a Chopping It Up. Now this is somebody that I wanted to interview for a while, and we'll actually start talking about it in the conversation. But today we welcome the one and only Ira Vaughn. How you doing in this podcast, man?
I'm doing great, Joe. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, doing good. Again, thanks again for agreeing to be on the show. We got a lot to talk about. Because you famous to me, man. You know what I'm saying? So we'll get into that, and I'm sure if you guys are on YouTube, and I think a couple of the other platforms, you can say something in the chat. You guys, on YouTube, when you listening live, or you have something to say, if you got a question, I'll go ahead and post it up, and then you guys will see that on Ira's camera, and then on my camera here, you guys will start seeing those chat questions. All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Ira, where you from, man?
Jackson, Mississippi. Born and raised.
Okay. All right. You from Jackson. Now, are your folks, are they from Jackson as well?
Yes, my mom and father both were. They both lived in Jackson. They both are deceased at this point, but mom and dad both went to Jim Hill High School out west, and pretty much they didn't go to college, but they did go to Jackson Public Schools.
Okay. Okay. Now, that's what's up, because my dad went to Jim Hill.
He sure did.
Yeah, yeah. So that's exciting. I think all of them. So just I guess a little background for the listeners. My dad's from Jackson, and my folks. Well, I think a lot of folks know my dad marched at Jackson State, but they grew up. I think the neighborhood was right next to Jim Hill High School, I believe, and so all my uncles and my one aunt, shout out to Aunt Billy, they all went to Jim Hill High School. So I didn't know you went. I didn't know they went to Jim Hill. So getting into the other question, I got some other questions for you. Then, what was your first instrument, and why did you pick it?
Well, my first instrument was a clarinet,
Wow. Okay.
and and the reason I picked the clarinet was because that's what my brother played.
Okay.
And I had to figure out if I was going to play the same horn as he did. But on Friday, Joe, was a family get together for us. Man, we went to the grocery store on every Friday. So mom would pick up my brother over at Brinkley, and we would go to Kroger after she picked him up. But the good thing about it was it gave me a chance to hear my brother play his instrument, but at the same time, I got a chance to see Brinkley Junior High band play under the leadership of Mr. Wilson. And at that time, that band was bad, man. I mean, it was a big band. And the drum major, Willie Jeffrey Cable, played baritone horn, and he was the drum major. And I told my brother, I said, man, I want to be just like him. So I actually played the clarinet for a little while I was at Brinkley in the seventh grade, and I changed the horn to baritone because I wanted to be just like my brother's best friend, Jeffrey Cable, and be the drum major. So that's how I ended up playing baritone.
Okay, okay. So a lot of folks had that story where like you had one instrument and like you had an older sibling played that instrument, and so that was the instrument that you was gonna play. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
So I've heard that story a lot. Okay, okay, that's what's up. Now you in Jackson, so you in like one of the meccas, and I know how my dad was. So I have to ask, what do you feel was like your first HBCU band experience?
Well, Joe, when we were growing up, I was a Boy Scout. So we got a chance to see the boom all the time because we were going around at the stadium where we sold the rosters. We sold the little booklets that they would buy, and that was our little hustle at the football games. So we got a chance to see the boom all the time, every Saturday. And I will be totally honest with you, Joe. I never even thought about being in the boom when I was a Boy Scout. Once I got in the band at Brinkley, I still didn't see myself being in the boom. So being a part of my HBCU experience was seeing something that everybody was enjoying, but never thought that I would be a part of that band.
Wow. And that's funny because that's just like normal. Because you in Jackson. Um, so, yeah, so with me and my dad, we were in St. Louis. You know what I'm saying? He was in graduate school up there and then met my mom. And I don't think he intended to stay in St. Louis. That's just how it was. But any chance we got, we were going to see Jackson State. Because remember when he marched, they were called the best band in the land. Right, they weren't the Sonic Boom. And there were a couple of times some people he marched with would come to the house, that were in town. But we were in Jackson every summer to see my grandma and all my cousins. Um, and sometimes, we would be up there for Thanksgiving. So anytime like we were around the band or around Jackson or anything, my dad was making sure I saw Jackson State. You know what I'm saying? So like you grew up with it. He was making sure like I was around it all the time, and so um, Memphis was just maybe 4 hours away. So we were in Memphis every year. I think a couple times when they were in Indianapolis, that was like 4 hours away. So we went there, and we were in Chicago a lot. So with me, man, my dad, I mean, he was hardcore. He was trying to get me to march probably from birth. You know what I'm saying? And so, I'm glad I did. I have to probably share. Probably, I want to give you the time, but I have to share my story of how I ended up at Jackson State. But yeah, I have to share that with you another time. Okay, so you had that experience. Where did you end up going to high school?
Callaway.
Okay,
Went to Callaway 601. Um, I became, well, actually, I was in the band. I played baritone 10th and 11th, euphonium during concert season 10th and 11th. And then I had some great drum majors, man. I had Handy and Gwen Irby. I had Darla Mannery, Gwen Irby. And then my senior year was Ronald Bailey and myself. And I mean, coming behind those guys, man, when you talk about drum majors, those guys were drum majors. I mean, they were some of the best uh, players on their horns. So I actually went through three different band directors. My first band director um, was named Mr. Hanna. I had well, actually, Mr. Wales, Mr. Hanna, and then I had Joe Mitchell. So I got a chance to learn different types of leadership, different types of ways of dealing with with your students. But Callaway was a great experience, man, to be a drum major and learn what was needed to be one of the chosen. So it was a good experience.
Okay. So that's what's up, man. And so again, with the connections that we have, um, I think most of my cousins went to Callaway. Um, shout out to Trump Funk and my frat brother Charles Jeffrey Beard. He just said something in the chat that he went to Callaway. Candace, his older sister, Candace Beard, shout out to you, cuz. She went to Callaway. Tanya Beard, shout out to you, cuz. She went there. And then David Thompson. I've actually interviewed David and Jeff. And most of us call us Jeff. It's a trip because I hear people say Charles. But in my family, most people call him Jeff, his middle name, because Uncle Charles was Charles. You know what I'm saying? His dad. And everybody knew Charles Beard. So, in our generation, most folks is talking about Jeff, but they say Charles. But all of them went to Callaway. And I remember when I would come down to Jackson, man, everybody was always talking about Callaway. And I think most of them lived not too far from Callaway.
Correct.
So it was cool. I knew all about Callaway. Now I want to say Tanya's older sister. I'm guessing she went to Callaway, but I know her younger sister Natalie. She went to Callaway too. I believe she went to Callaway. I'm just not sure about Yolanda, who is the older sister, but yeah, all of them went to Callaway and all of them marched. And then you brought up Mr. Mitchell. David talked about Mr. Mitchell a lot. And so I think he just recently retired not too long ago. And now the director there is Curtis, who I marched with. Curtis came in '98, a year behind me. Curtis Luckett, I believe, is his last name. So
That's it.
yeah, so shout out to Curtis, man. And again, got some stories about Curtis's crowd class '98. But we'll talk about. We definitely have to talk about that offline. But yeah, man. So I mean, I didn't go to Callaway. I'm from Jackson, but man, I knew all about Callaway, man. A lot of stuff about Callaway. But I didn't know you went there, which is a trip. Because I'll slide this in as far as my HBCU experience when my dad was always showing me when you marched, and we'll get into this now, BET had all the HBCU bands. I mean, it was almost every Saturday. And so I saw you a lot. You know what I'm saying? And, when we would go to Jackson, folks was talking about you, Ira Vaughn. I remember that. So then let me get into it. So when you decided, did you know you were going to go to Jackson State? What was your college selection process like?
So the selection was I had to pick the major. My major was going to be electrical engineering, and that kind of narrowed it down to two schools, which was Southern University in Baton Rouge and Jackson State. Well, Southern at the time had a engineering program that was for the duration of your time at the university. Jackson State had a 3-2 program where you went to Jackson State for 3 years and you finished at Mississippi State. So because of that, I made the choice to go to Southern first. When I got an opportunity before I went to Southern, I went by and told Dow Taylor that I was choosing to go to Southern. And the conversation went something like this. He said, "Vaughn, have you been to Southern?" And I said, "No, sir." He said, "Well, sign the scholarship right here." I said, "Well, Mr. Taylor, I'm going to Southern. I just wanted to thank you for giving me a scholarship and giving me an opportunity." He said, "Well, son, sign the scholarship so your money will be here when you get back. I said, Mr. Taylor, I'm not coming back. I'm going to Southern. So Southern's band camp was a week before Jackson State's band camp. So I signed a scholarship, and I told him thank you. He said okay. So Joe, I left and went to Southern,
What?
and I was there for a few days. Saw a lot of things that I didn't agree with, especially being a drum major in the 12th grade and not really being. I'm totally against hazing. So I can say that at the beginning. I'm totally against hazing. I'm totally against foolishness that has nothing to do with being a great bandsman. So going to Southern, I saw a lot of stuff that wasn't going to help me be a better bandsman. So I ended up coming back home, embarrassed, um, really was done with the band. And a friend of mine named Jeronita Johnson, Jeronita played mellophone. She actually came by and picked me up that Saturday for band camp. And my mom told her to go back there and get me. I was in my bedroom laying down, and she said, go get him up because he's talking about he's not going to be in the band. So she came back there and she said, Ira, let's go. And actually, Joe, I was done, man. And Jeronita got me up. She drove up on campus. I'll never forget, we pulled up in the band parking lot and she was like, get out the car. I was like, Jeronita, I said, I'm done.
Wow.
She said, get out the car. So I got out the car and went inside. She even paid for, I think it was like a membership or something that we had to pay. And it couldn't have been that much, maybe $10, $15. And she paid that. She said, fill the paper out. So Joe, the great thing about it was after I got there, Dow Taylor saw me and he said, Vaughn, I need to talk to you up in my office. So Joe, I went up to the office and he said, I knew you was coming back. And I said, how did you know that? He said, because I know where you came from. He said, I know who you are. I know your family. He said, and I knew you were coming back. And so he said, I got something I want to talk to you about. He said, all three of my drum majors are leaving. He said, and I want to know, are you interested in being a drum major? I said, of course. He said, well, I want you to try out. So Joe, that gave me that spark to stick with the band, be a part of the band. And as a freshman going in, I got a chance to try out for drum major as a freshman. And I made it. I made the alternate drum major. After band camp, had the option to either play my horn or either walk around and just watch the drum majors for that football season. And of course, I'm from the band, so I already know that it was going to be tough for the band to respect me if I didn't march with them.
Right.
So I took it upon myself, and I played baritone throughout the football season. Had a couple of challenges that I had to do with playing and keeping my position on the field. I never wanted to challenge a drum major so I could march as a drum major in my freshman year because that wasn't important. I knew all three of those guys were leaving.
Right.
So it'd be better off to keep all that static down and just to wait my turn, and I did. But I enjoyed that part of it. James Berry played a very instrumental role with protecting me, making sure that I learned what I need to learn to be the drum major that I turned out to be. So he stayed on me to make sure that I did everything and made sure I was very respectable, showed me how a head drum major should act and present themselves with the band. So Joe, that's how that my freshman year went at Jackson State.
So what year was this?
This was 1986.
Wow, 1986. Okay. So this is crazy to me. Now, your freshman year. First, let me go back. Dow Taylor. You know what I'm saying? The legend. You know what I'm saying? And we've been really lucky. We've had some unbelievable band directors at Jackson State. Um, I marched under Lewis Liddell, and my dad marched with Dr. Liddell. So it was cool. My dad said Dr. Liddell was always laughing. That's what he said about Dr. Liddell, which is hilarious. Um, but Dow Taylor, you know, that's a trip. He knew that you were coming back from Southern. I won't go into too much of the hazing, but you know that spread everywhere, and ended up where the young man Robert Champion in Florida. I mean, I think everybody knows that name now. You know what I'm saying? And there's even like one of those, I think, Under Friday Night Lights or something like that, and it's on HBO Max. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Okay, so if you got HBO Max, it's Under the Friday Night Lights or something, and they actually tell that story of what happened. So yeah, and it's a trip because everybody seemed like they got a Southern story. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that spread everywhere, and so that's cool. Like you said, that you know what I'm saying, you against it, and you proud of that, and so that's definitely commendable. And so you came back this 1986, but then a freshman. I had a crowd brother that I believe that they knew he was going to be a drum major too. He was out of Atlanta, Marshall Southwest DeKalb, Jermaine Darcy. He actually passed as well. But he was, I think they knew he was going to be drum major, and then he marched trumpet his first year and then became drum major the second year. So I guess it's happened before in history. You know what I'm saying? Like they know who they're gonna be, but yeah, I didn't know that was your story as well. Okay, so this 1986, you marched. Did you have a memorable moment your freshman year?
Well, freshman year was actually where we took upon ourselves to um, we were we were noted as a very disciplined group of freshmen. Um, I think that when you find a family of young folks, man, that stick together, we stuck together, man. And I can say this, that when my crab brothers and sisters stood behind me as a freshman trying out for drum major, it was so much love, man. And then we could play. I mean, we wasn't just average players that year. We could blow. So there was an opportunity for a lot of the freshmen to actually march on the field in '86. So um, we didn't bring mediocre to the band. We actually, I think we raised the bar a little bit because when we came in as freshmen, but we came in as a unit also. So I believe that with me trying out for drum major as a freshman, and when I tried out, man, to see all those freshmen just cheering for me, standing, shoulder to shoulder for me. I think that just kind of gave everybody in that class hope that it was going to be something big, and it was going to be something that we were all going to remember.
Okay, all right. So then that leads into my next question, because I usually ask people about their crowd year, because folks always remember that. What would you say was your most memorable experience from the duration that you marched in the boom?
As a crab, as a crab, it was. Well, James Berry, I'm gonna say this. James Berry protected me, man, and And the reason why, yeah, James very protected me. He called me Callaway. So James would call me, man, doing sectionals. He would have me to work out with him uh, when the drum majors were doing things outside. Like everybody had sectionals at night, so there were times where he would pull me out of the baritone sectionals and let me uh, work with them just so he could have. I guess he wanted to keep an eye on me, man, because he knew things that I didn't know. So as a freshman, that's why I said, it was great for me because I got an opportunity to see things right before they happen, and then I had someone protecting me. So Joe, what ended up happening, man, I got an opportunity to do the same thing for. I mean, you got to think about it. We had at least 100 freshmen come in a year wanting to be in that band. So I got a chance to do what James Berry did for me as a freshman. I got an opportunity to do that 100 times over. So I got a chance to protect 100 freshmen so that way they will feel comfortable because the main thing in my mind, Joe, I didn't want people to leave Jackson State because of foolishness, because of what happened to me at Southern. So my whole goal was I wanted nobody to leave because that's the school they chose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense. Um, man, man, there's so much going through my head. Cause, well, let me say this: I
Okay.
appreciate what you just said, cause that changes a lot of. The more you talk to people about all, like you say, the foolishness, it really depends on who you talk to in the year. I mean, '97, I remember. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
right. So to hear that you, you know, what I'm saying you ain't down with that, and then you didn't want no one to turn away from all of that. I am sure that nationwide across a lot of band programs, you lose a lot of good people because of that.
That's
Um,
right.
I think my cousin Natalie, I told you, Natalie, she was at Callaway. I believe she marched, but I don't think my Uncle Walter wanted her to march because I think, you know what I'm saying, the word had got out. She finished in 95. So, I mean, the 90s, man, was off the hook. You know what I'm saying? Just like it probably was in a lot of places. Um, so I really appreciate you hearing that because sometimes you just don't know. Like when I talk to old heads and all that, and especially from the 80s, I'm like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, like y'all was, yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was rocking and rolling at that time. But that ain't, the more people I talk to, it's not true. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Okay. So yeah, I appreciate you saying that because I mean, I didn't think that was you because you from the '80s. I mean, I just think everybody from the '80s is crazy. Like you know what I'm saying. So I appreciate that, man, and definitely. I don't know how it is now. I don't think it's like that now at a lot of places, but
No,
yeah, man,
it's
it
it's
got
nothing
it
like
got
that
bad
now.
across the board everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So you protected a lot of the folks coming in, and I'm sure there was some foolishness going on. Um, but now you drum major, so this '87, and I want to say is because I know Jeff didn't get there till '90, or like '89 or something like that. Um, but was there anything up until the point that we talked about earlier that was memorable to you, or was the most memorable thing to you was it Motown 30?
So Joe, let me tell you. So here's some good stuff that we did that I did every when I think they call it the merge now.
Merge now, yeah.
Okay, so we didn't have a merge. So what we ended up doing the night before the upperclassmen was to report to band camp is actually the introduction for the freshmen to introduce to the upperclassmen. So because I now know that uh, what was done to me as a freshman, I got to figure out how can I make sure that the introduction for the freshmen's first time seeing upperclassmen other than section leaders would go in favorable for the freshmen. So
Okay.
what I did is I gave the freshmen a key word that I would say to introduce them to the upperclassmen. And when I say this key word, they all should run and go back to their dorm. And I see them at PT at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
So Joe, I did that for 4 years, man. And where that way none of the upperclassmen had a chance to fool with any of the freshmen the night before they had to the night before they came and reported. So that was my big thing, man, that I did, and was one of those memorable things. But what was so cool was my last year, the upperclassmen told me, "Don't even worry about it, man. Just let them go." So because I had did it every year, and so the last year for the seniors, they know that they done dealt with that for 3 years, so they just decided, they're not going to even participate in it. It's like, just let them go. We know you're going to do it again, so just let them go.
Wow. Wow. That's a trip, man. I mean, wow. Wow. The drum major. I mean, that was woo. I mean, so you was actually so you know what's cool is I bet you if I find some of the people that you marched at that time, they real appreciative of that. You know what I'm saying? Uh, because I can't even imagine a drum major doing something like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, and James Berry, I think I've met him a couple times, like homecoming and all of that. So that's what. Now is James from Jackson too?
No, James is from, um, is it Prentice? I think he was from Prentice, Mississippi.
Okay, okay. But Mississippi though. He's from Mississippi though.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but he
Wow.
he moved to Atlanta after he graduated, and I think he had a couple of the bands, some of the nice bands that we got a chance to see at some of the homecoming that was from the
Okay.
Atlanta, Georgia area.
Right, right. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, you know what? I'm glad you told I'm glad you told me that cuz I mean, the more and more cuz the conversation it don't even get like that depending on like what year you from, but hearing that um that's definitely reassuring. It definitely was not like that when my dad was in the band. Cuz of course when he heard
No,
about it, he was like, "What?" Like he was like he didn't understand it at all in the least bit. So yeah, that's definitely a conversation we definitely to go in depth about because I mean just the whole the merge we were calling it that back then, but now because with social media and all of that, it's like something big, and it's something to help raise money for the band. You know what I mean?
correct.
But yeah, I mean, when we merged, um, we were, band camp was 2 weeks, and it was the first week it was just us, and then that Friday night we marched out uh, and stood at attention, and then we played like of course, and with Dr. Liddell we had was a lot of marches. Um, and then the boom came up, rolled up in front of us, and marched, and then just blew on us. It seemed like an hour. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they played everything. Um, and then that's when we fell in the ranks with them, and man, that was scary. And let me tell you, that whole experience that night was crazy. So, yeah, we definitely got to talk more, man. But yeah, it's actually refreshing to hearing you say that. So this gets me to the other part of the interview that I was most excited about, and I talked to you a little bit about this before we started. Like I said, I seen you on BET a lot. Back then, BET was showing lots of HBCU football games and showing the halftime show. And so I think my most memorable time seeing you, I want to say it was 89 or 90. I think it was homecoming for us, and we played Texas Southern. And you guys had brought the Texas Southern mascot and put him in the chair and electrocuted him. Oh, I was like, that is the dopest thing I have ever seen. And I remember you. I remember because you was dancing in front, when they were electrocuting the guy, and I was just like, man, that is just an amazing performance. You know what I'm saying? Now, do you remember? Was that '89, or was you
Joe,
remember what year that was?
I'll be totally honest with you, Joe. I don't remember what year it was, but we were king on gimmicks.
Yes.
So to say what year it was, now I will say this: BET, when in 87, I think we were seen a couple of times. 88, I want to say, is where we ended up being on BET like half the season. And then BET ended up traveling with us on every game. So we ended up one year, and I want to say it may have been 80, 89, that they followed us, and we had to come up with dance routines. We changed the show every week. And we were at Dow Taylor's house every Sunday evening making up new dance routines. So that was another part of the business side of being in the band and putting me in the situation that I'm in right now with the way that I live my life. Having to be at a place and making up a dance routine. Dow Taylor and I, during that time, VHS tapes.
Yep.
He would go and record all the BET videos to get songs and get the videos off of them. And we would sit there and look at the videos and try to come up with 8 counts out of some of the videos that we were watching and see if we could put it together for a routine. And, we would work on that, and then Spook and Darryl Shaw would show up a little later, and I'll end up showing them some of the moves, and then we'll continue to keep looking at videos and making up routines. And on Monday, we were showing the dance committee those 8 count moves that we had come up with, and on Thursday, we got the show together, and Saturday we performed. So BET actually followed us on the whole season, and I think that was the same year that we played Circuit City Classic, because I know we played in the Hoosier Dome twice. I think we went in 88 and 89, or either 89 and 90. I can't remember what 2 years, because I know we played FAM one year, and then we came around and played Bethune-Cookman the next year. But they followed us, man, and that kept us busy.
I bet it did. And I remember when you guys played Bethune-Cookman at the Circle City Classic, because we went to that game, because Indianapolis is just 4 hours away. So if the Boom was going to be in Indianapolis, we were definitely going. And I remember you guys did a parade too.
Correct.
So like there was a Circle City Classic parade, and y'all had the actual halftime show. So I know y'all was tired. You know what I'm saying? I know that. So and,
well, we don't get tired. You know that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. So with that, it's a trip like to hear you saying, because just on my side, I mean, this is like me growing up. or you talking about VHS, I had taped all of, the Boom, some of the other bands too, but because my dad, had, put Jackson State on me so much, and I had family marching, that's mostly who I watched. I would put that tape on, and then I would play it back, and then on my trumpet try to find the keys to some of the songs. So I remember Blowing, which is still like my favorite fanfare before a show. I remember them first three notes because I was trying to figure that out on myself, and played Blowing. And then when I got to Jackson State and learned it, I mean, that was like second nature to me. You know what I'm saying? So that's a trip that they were I didn't know that they followed you. I remember you guys were on there a lot. I remember that. And so then that leads me to Motown 30, and I swear, man, like that was another level of pride. I do want to tell you, my dad, I remember him. He had like tears in his eyes that time, because that was huge at the time. Now, like later on, I think 2003, the Boom went to the Image Awards, and I remember they marched down the aisles, and I still remember. I remember my dad, like, how choked up he got. Just that level of pride when you see your band on a national level like that. So you got to tell me about your experience with Motown 30.
So Motown 30, that was 1990. So Joe, let me tell you how that came about. I had moved. 1989 was my last year marching. That was my fourth year.
Okay.
So Dal Taylor gave me a phone call. And told me that he was retired. He said this was going to be his last year, and he asked me, because I didn't graduate. He asked me would I come back in March one more year, and I was told him flat out, like, Mr. Taylor, I'm actually done. He said, well, Vaughn, he said it would be great, and I could go out with a Boom. He said to have you as my drum major for this last year. He said we have Motown on the books in Los Angeles, Hollywood, California. He said, and we doing the NBA All-Star Weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're going to do that also this year. He said, and I really would like for you to be there with me on this. And so, of course, I came back, and kind of off the subject with Motown. When I didn't have, my crew was already gone. That was Darryl Shaw at the time. Darryl Shaw and Al Mack were my drum majors. Spook had already stopped coming, so he was done. So that in '89 it was JJ, Josiah Simpson, Al Mack, Darryl Shaw. So, man, we tried. Of course, I got freshmen and sophomores and everybody trying out for drum major for that summer. And man, how about them cats showed up the day of tryouts and put me on the spot and said, hey, man, come on, let's go out here and show what the other folks supposed to be doing for drum major tryouts. And I was like, man, I know y'all didn't do this. They said, is it going to be all of us, or you going to try to do this with some new guys? And I told Al and Darren, I said, man, I cannot believe y'all put me on the spot like this. So, of course, Joe, it's a routine that the drum majors do, that the other drum majors that's trying out have to come out and do in front of the judges.
Yeah.
Well, instead of it being just me coming out there, all three of us came out.
Wow.
So when all three of us came out, of course, all they got to do is pick one alternate.
Right.
So they ended up picking two alternates, which was I call them M&M. It was Michael Hype and Michael Harris. Okay. So they became the two alternates the year that we went to Motown.
Okay. Okay.
So now getting back to California, that trip took us a whole day. We rode the bus, man, for
Oh, y'all rode the bus?
a whole day.
Oh, well, I didn't know y'all rode the bus. I mean, I'm thinking this California. That ain't no joke, man.
No, no. So we changed bus drivers every 8 hours, and
Oh,
we got to California, and it took 24 hours.
wow.
And so after we got to California, I would be totally honest with you. We had a ball. We got a chance, man. We were treated like stars. I mean, we were treated like superstars in California, man. Um, the rehearsals were great. I got an opportunity where a gentleman came to me and asked me, was I was I interested in being a dance coordinator,
Wow.
choreographer, and of
Wow.
course during that time, man, in 1989, uh, nobody was thinking about choreography and all that. But I got a chance to meet Perez, which she was the dance coordinator for the Fly Girls that was on Living Color at the time, which she was dating Heavy D. So I got a chance to meet her. Got a chance to meet Heavy D, of course, Patti LaBelle. We pretty much got a chance to meet everybody that was on School Days, that show. Got a chance to meet Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder. Um, Man, just the list just goes on and on because if you was in the right place, those stars were coming around, and because we were stars too, if you didn't get starstruck, you could get a chance to speak to them and maybe even take pictures with them during that time. And at that time we didn't have cell phones with the technology that we have now. So a lot of the things that we did was, people took pictures and they're probably in archives and all that. Hung out with Sinbad. And with me being in the position that I was in as being head drum major, I got a chance to come back on stage after we did the show and be at the end of the show. They did a prelude, and I got a chance to be on the end of the show, holding hands and all that. And I got a limousine after the show was over with, where I was invited to a couple of parties and all that. But I just wanted to get something to eat and go back to the hotel, man, because I wasn't used to all of that partying. So, but it was great, man. I mean, being in California, seeing things that we had never gotten a chance to see before, and a great experience. And of course, Joe, we didn't mess that up. I mean, we did what we supposed to have done. We represented Jackson State well. And what's so funny is that I actually talked to Dr. Little after the boom was on the Super Bowl, and I told him, I said, "Look, man, we've been riding on Motown for 30 plus years." I
Yeah.
said, "You guys just put us on the next level. Don't mess this up."
Yeah. Yeah. That's dope, man. And even the Boomers coming out here for the Rose Bowl this year, and then the Honda Battle of the Bands. This is the first time they trying it out, but it's out. It's gonna be at SoFi in Inglewood. So, man, I can't even tell you how excited I am about that because I didn't expect to be out here in California and get married and have a family and all of that, but going back is harder than I expected. You know what I'm saying? And so every year, especially since I started doing the show, they're like, "Man, why you ain't at the Honda and blah 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 blah." And so now I'm seeing the whole discourse now with people complaining about airplane tickets, and the tickets are expensive for the Honda out here, which is kind of crazy. Um, but I had no idea y'all were on a bus. I just assumed that Motown was flying y'all out there. Cause I mean that's crazy. When I got the job here in California, I broke it up in like 3 or 4 days. You know what I'm saying? And I was leaving from St. Louis, so I can't imagine y'all were on the buses all of that time. Um, but seeing you guys on there, man, that like that was a whole nother level. And even still, like you said, they were in Boom was in the Super Bowl and all of that. It still feels like it's different. And maybe with the internet and social media and all of that, I mean, Motown 30 was special. You know what I mean? It was special in its own right. So I'm hoping that they get selected to come to the Honda because that would be really cool. But that would be like probably about 3 or 4 weeks apart because it's supposed to be February 1st. And the Rose Bowl is always, around New Year's Day or so. So it'll be interesting to see if they do get selected, them coming back and forth to California like that
Well,
in that short
Joe,
amount of time.
as far as the bus ride, Dow Taylor, I don't think he flies.
Really?
So I think the other part of that was Dow Taylor. He's a businessman. So what he did, this is what I think happened was he took the money that they had put for us to take that trip, which was going to be flying. And I think what he was able to do was because of what we were going there to do, what we were trying to execute. He took the money. He made it possible for us to have a full looking band to execute what everybody got a chance to see. So the flight and how much money it was going to take, I think we would have had a smaller piece of band, and it wouldn't have given the world what they saw on for Motown 30 if we would have flown there. Yeah, I think it was strictly Dial Taylor being who he is, and that's making sure that the band is put together with instrumentation, the sound, and a good look. Because if you saw Motown, it looked like there was a full band, and it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. So folks had to audition then.
yeah, but a lot of the people that went to Motown were freshmen.
Really?
Yes. They were
Wow.
bad, man. That freshman class that came through in 1990, man, that was a bad group of freshmen, man. And they tried out. Everybody tried out. Now, of course, the section leaders went, but a lot of freshmen went on that trip with us.
Okay. Okay. So I know my cousin Jeff was 1990. I remember that was his craft year. Now, do you remember Carl Cunningham?
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
Okay. So I interviewed Carl on the show. He's our president of our Sonic Boom Alumni Association.
correct.
And I think I want to say he was 89, I believe. I think his first year in the band, and he played trombone.
Okay.
Um, so I remember him being there. So that wow. So that makes a lot of sense. Because I remember he said that he auditioned for uh, a lot of a lot of things, a lot of the performances in '89. So man, that's still crazy. I'm still blown away y'all didn't fly. I mean, because I just thought that's what I'm saying. Um, wow. I do want to do this. I used to do like the commercials. I'm still figuring that out with this new time. But I do want to do I always do this just to give them a shout out. My man Scarfinger Hood Rich, my twin September 18th. I see you in there. Shout out to you, man. Good to see you again. And then of course my beloved cousin, frat brother. What's up, dog? Charles Jeffrey Beard. He's in the chat, leaving a couple comments. My mom said something there. Hi, mom. How you doing? I always appreciate you for everything. Um, and I didn't know. Mr. Mitchell passed.
Yeah,
Somebody said, "Oh, I
yeah.
didn't know he passed." Okay. Rest in peace, Mr. Mitchell. Um, but yeah. Oh, and Jeff said, "Shout out to Spook and the Great Shaw, solid 3. So I guess those are the drum majors when he was there. But yeah, man, that's I mean, you taking me back, man. I know when Tanya reached out to me, man, like a lot of stuff came back when she brought up your name. So I remember when I said I was gonna do the show again, I had to interview you first. But like I said, at Motown 30, man, it was really special, and I think a whole generation not only recognized Jackson State, but came to march at Jackson State. I already knew I was kind of going. I didn't go at first because I was trying to make my own. Path. I went to Johnson C. Smith out in North Carolina. And the NBA All-Star, we were there too, because my mother's from Charlotte, and we came out there for the performance for the NBA halftime show. Of course, we didn't get in the game or whatever, but we came out there, and I can't remember if we found where y'all were. But I remember we came out to Charlotte for that too. But yeah, man, just a lot of memories and a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of alumni or a lot of people that saw Motown 30 and made the decision to come to Jackson State. I mean, that was huge, man. So, I say thank you, especially to you, because you are a really good drum major. And like I said, man, like the vision of you and that J, that was something that was part of like my vision of Jackson State and the boom was you. And I remember the other two guys too, but I remember you most. I just didn't have no idea you was from Jackson and went to high school with all my cousins, man. Like, that's crazy. So this is really, really exciting to talk to you, man. So this gets on, I guess, to the other side of the interview, and I do want to ask you. So, what did you do? Did you decide to go into electrical engineering when you were there at Jackson State then?
I changed my major to management.
Okay.
And the reason why is because math had gotten very difficult to understand with the way that I wasn't able to comprehend with the way that the professors were teaching it. And I'll say it like that because I was an A student coming into college, but I just couldn't understand how math changed once I got to college. So I'll leave that way. So I changed my major to management. Well, Joe, I didn't finish in 1990 when I came back, but I did stick with management. I went back and finished my degree in 2022 after my mom asked me before she passed, why don't I finish what I started? And so made a promise to her to go back, and I ended up finishing. Professional interdisciplinary studies is what I ended up getting my bachelor's in, which I'm using it. Was using it before I got the degree. I'm right now general manager for Half Shell Oyster House in Flowood, Mississippi, and I have my own limousine company, Unique Class Limo. So I'm still managing. I'm still leading. I'm still a drum major. So none of those things changed. I just, got an opportunity with all the experience that I had with dealing with my own peers, being a leader, managing them, leading them. It just made the job that I'm doing now even easier. So what I do now is just help develop leaders that's in my restaurant and teaching ownership. So I'm still doing what I've been doing since 1985.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Let me give you. That's really cool that you went back, and you got the picture there that we showing on the slideshow of your alumni picture, and then the picture of you in the gown doing the 90 degrees. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
no doubt.
yeah. So that's really impressive. And are you and you said Flowood, so you still in Jackson then?
Correct. I live in Clinton. I live in Clinton, Mississippi, which is right outside of Jackson, and I work in Flowood.
Okay. Um, and for all the folks know, I mean Clinton. That's like what's it? It's like East. That's like Jackson East or
Correct.
something like that. Like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I was in Clinton a lot. A couple, folks out in Clinton, uh, Pearl, that whole surrounding area, and then like North Jackson. It's Ridgewood, right? It's North Jackson.
Correct.
You're right. So yeah, that whole area there. So I know exactly where you are. It's off the 20, right? Highway 20.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I
Correct.
haven't been to Jackson in a minute, man. So that's what's up, man. But I would like to go down there next year because I want to take my kids and my wife down there to see how Jackson is. But yeah, man, that's really exciting. And man, it's a pleasure. Like I said, man, like you, and of course, my cousin. Oh, so one other thing that happened, I can't remember if it was the Texas Southern game where y'all electrocuted the mascot, but there was one time y'all were doing MC Hammer and the halftime show, and they straight up had a picture of my cousin Jeff. The cameraman was in his face, and that was exciting, man, to see Jeff on TV. And I remember we were watching it live, and my family went crazy and all that stuff like that. So that was really special. But again, man, seeing you and talking to you, it brought back a lot of like memories of my dad or just a lot of stuff. And I'm happy I ended up going to Jackson State. I started it out earlier, but I went to Johnson C. Smith because I wanted to make my own path. And Ira, man, we got crunk on by a high school, man. It was off the hook, man. Johnson C. Smith is a small band, small program, and North Carolina A&T is in Greensboro, North Carolina, and there's a high school there, Dudley High School, and they came to Charlotte, and they were like 3 times us, man. They were huge, We had like 4 trumpets, like you know what I'm saying, and every week my dad would send pictures because my Uncle Charles was there at the games, my Uncle Walter was at the games. They would send my dad pictures in St. Louis, and my dad would mail these pictures to me out in Charlotte when I was out there. And he was like, man, look how many people was at this game. And then he was like, well, how many people was at your game? And I was like, come on, man, like, you know what I'm saying? So after that experience, I was like, I'm a transfer. You know what I'm saying? And it ended up being a great decision because now, and as you know, the program, we ain't lost a step. Knock on wood, we still consider one of those top tier programs, and it's been a blessing over the years to see. It's been 20 some years since I marched, almost 30, and they're still doing so well.
That's right.
And that started with you, man. Because, when I started, when you talk about 85, 86, that's when I started seeing the band. That's when I was older enough where, my parents could travel. We could go to Memphis and I could see the boom. And so after that, it was a wrap. That's what changed my understanding of like HBCU band culture was seeing Jackson State all those years. And you was a drum major up there. So it's been a real honor to talk to you, man. I'm really excited that Tanya reached out to me, but just happy that you were able to be on the show. So I gotta give you another round of applause. So we're getting towards the end of the interview. I do want to ask you. So you said you got a limo company. Could you tell how you got into that and how that experience has been?
Joe, I've I've had my limousine company for 12, 13 years now. But the way it came about, Joe, I used to take my brother. I used to take my brother to parties when I was 15 and 16. So I got a chance to chauffeur him to the parties and make sure he made it home safe. Um, and he would give me $20, man. So that was like my little side gig, doing that, and I didn't mind sitting in the car waiting for him. So as I got older, I moved to Memphis and got a chance to start working at Chili's and just watching people, drinking and doing having a good time. I thought about trying to do like a partnership with bars to see if there was any way that I can actually sign up a agreement with people that drink, because most people that drink, they tend to drink at the same places. And I was trying to look at maybe even forming some type of contract where I can get the people home safe and all that. And that was kind of going on at the same time that I was managing the restaurant when I was living in Memphis. And so when I moved back home to Jackson, I just kind of kept thinking about that same ideal. And what God had put on me was, why don't you open up your own business? And then that way you can, with the limousine company, you can still do that. So, Joe, I actually started my company. Uber had just hit Jackson, and I actually signed my first limousine up with Uber. That helped me get my advertising out there, and it kind of went from there. So right now I have a limo, I have a SUV limo, I have two party buses, and an SUV in my fleet.
Okay, okay, that's what's up, man. So, how can folks get a plug for the business? How can folks reach out and contact you and support your business?
Yeah, I have a website. My website is uniqueclasslimo.net. Email is uniqueclasslimo23 at gmail.com. And you can reach me at 901-219-4856. And I pretty much deal with the metro area. I do the tri-state area as far as pickup. Have a 3 hour minimum, but you can, like I said, you can reach me at 901-219-4856 or email me at uniqueclasslimo23 at gmail.com.
Okay, that's what's up, man. I definitely will plug that in the credits on the interview. And again, I'm gonna reach out. I'm still figuring out what I'm gonna do for the sponsors. I used to play the commercial for the sponsors I reached out to in all the interviews, but I'm gonna try to. We'll probably do something different on one of the uh, camera angles that we have. I'm still playing at the bottom at the ticker, the sponsors that I have. So I'll probably reach out to you so we can help to pub your business.
No
Um,
problem. I appreciate that.
yeah, yeah, definitely, man. So again, we come to the end of the interview, and again, man, it's been an honor. A lot of stuff started with me with you, and again, like like I said, my cousins and all of that. That was part of it too, and my dad. But that image of the boom, man, you just don't know like how much pride Motown 30 was for us, and so many people that decided to come to Jackson State, and even people that didn't go to Jackson State or didn't want to go, people knew that we did Motown 30, and we still have came with it. The Essence Festival. I think that was 2003. We did the Essence Festival, and so we just did the Super Bowl, and now the Rose Bowl. The program has been special, and so man, I'm glad that I'm a part of it. I'm glad that I was able to talk to you now, and I got your information. So I'll be continuing to reach out. Do you know if the boom does make the Honda Battle of the Bands, do you know if you might try to come out here for that?
I'm not sure. I just have to figure out. I'll have to find out those dates. And I've never, and I'll be totally honest with you, I have never seen a battle of the bands. So
Okay,
that would be something that I would look forward to trying to do.
okay, okay. The LA chapter for Jackson State alumni is uh, really, really, really thriving. Really big group and very thorough. Shout out to Modeling. She's our president now. And then we've got a couple other we've got a lot of alumni out here in California, which surprised me when I joined. It's a whole lot of people that graduate from Jackson State here in California, in Southern California, which is crazy when you think about it. So I know that we're gonna definitely support the band if they get selected. A lot of them are coming, or are excited about the Rose Bowl too. But yeah, if they do get selected for the Honda, I know that I'm planning something, and so you'll be taken care of, and it'll be good to meet you in person. But again,
But
man,
Joe,
like,
count me in.
okay, all right, yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
keep you posted on everything. Like I said, it's a lot of
please do.
support, a lot of HBCU alumni associations here in the LA area, which trip me out. You know what I'm saying? Like, that distance is crazy, but there are a lot of folks out here, just HBCUs in general, out in California. And it's crazy because a lot of folks' parents, like me, they were from Texas or from Mississippi, and then they moved out here. And so then they had kids, and they told them, about everything, or took them back for vacations, and then the kids ended up, going to HBCU. So um, I definitely keep you up, abreast of what's going on, man. It's been an honor. Let me give you one last round of applause here. So we're wrapping up. Do you have anything to say? Do you want to shout out anyone? You have any advice for any of the young folks out there? Anything as we wrap up the end of the show?
Well, one thing I like to say is that, especially with the young people, um, follow your dream. Practice. Practice with a purpose. I think that one of the biggest things that has helped me and is making sure that every day that I get up and the things that I want to do, I just make sure that I'm doing it with a purpose. Life is what you put in it. Don't expect the big things that's out there if you didn't do any work to try to get them. Nothing is free. Go out and get it if that's what you want. Work for it and go do it. I tell all my employees that work with me that my job is to take care of them, for them to take care of the guests that come in the building. You know, I'm not a boss. I work for the employees that work with me. So that's my biggest thing, and that's my take, man. Is you know, be about the business and practice with a purpose.
That's what's up, man. Let me give you one last. The one and only Ira Vaughn. Again, man, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you being on the show today. And I got your contact information, so I'll be able to text you and keep you abreast of what's going on out here. And definitely, if we come back down there to Mississippi, man, I got to meet up with you in person. And I'm still planning that because I want my kids to see Mississippi. I want them to see the campus and all that stuff like that too. But man, I like I said, I really appreciate you being on the show. Shout out to Jeff, and shout out to David, and shout out to Tanya. I got to give you your props, Tanya. I just texted her. She said she was on the way, I think, back to Memphis. She's driving. But she reached out to me. She said, "You still doing your show?" She said, "I got somebody you want to, you want to interview. You got to interview him." When I found out that was you, I was like, "What?" So when I knew that I was trying to do the show and get it all back together, I wanted to reach out to you first to kick everything off. So
Well, I
again,
appreciate it.
yeah, man, I really appreciate you. Thanks for being on the show. The one and only Ira Vaughn, y'all.
Thanks a lot.
All right, as we end the show, I know before I had lots of tags and stuff I used to say at the end, and I don't have all of that. I'm definitely going to put something together, but definitely I appreciate all the people listening, either if you listen live or you watching the playback on YouTube or Twitch or Twitter or whatever channel we have. But we'll be coming back. We are planning to have the 90 Degree Show come back, and it'll be a little bit different. We got 2 doctors now. Christy Walker's a doctor, and Bridget is a doctor now. Rashad is doing well. Ernest is doing well. So we planning to still come back and have some conversations with you guys and support the band community. Still working with the director series. So any directors out there, I'll be reaching out and talking to them as well. And then also our National Signing Day, which is really something special to me. Selecting the students that are coming out of high school, deciding to march at an HBCU band program. We plan to kick that off as well. Dr. Brock is now the head band director at Johnson C. Smith. And so her husband Ricardo, they're out in Charlotte now. But we still planning to do all of that to support the program. And those things are coming along. So the Marching Podcast is back. I really appreciate you guys watching and listening and support. And you can tweet us, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, email us, marchingpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out to us and everything. Any ideas for the show? Or if I hadn't got a chance to reach out and interview, y'all know who you are. And again, much love, and I really appreciate the support. And again, shout out to Ira Vaughn for coming on the show today. I was really excited talking to him, replaying a lot of those memories. So again, shout out to you. Much love and much success to everybody. Remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.